If you have a retail or manufacturing business, you need to know how much the items you are reselling or manufacturing cost to make sure you are making a profit on those items. I'm the Tax Geek, and here is cost of goods sold, oversimplified. Computing cost of goods sold is part of a generally accepted accounting principle called the matching principle. The matching principle states that the cost of purchasing or manufacturing products match the sales revenue from those same products. Ignoring this principle can result in gross profit being over or understated. Wilson sells widgets. In 2026, he sold 1,000 widgets at $100, but he purchased 1,500 widgets at $50. If he reduces his income by the cost of all the widgets he purchased, he would have a gross profit of $25,000. In 2027, he sells another 1,000 widgets at $100, but he only purchased 500 widgets at $50 since he already had the 500 widgets left over from the previous year. Again, if he reduces his income by the $25,000 cost of the widgets he purchased, he would, in this case, end up with $75,000 in gross profit. The same activity, but wildly different gross profit figures. Which one is correct? Well, neither of them are. Now let's apply the matching principle. In 2026, Wilson only reduces his income by the cost of the widgets he actually sold. The result? $50,000 in gross profit. In 2027, he reduces his income by the cost of the leftover widgets from last year, $25,000, plus the cost of the widgets he purchased in 2027, also $25,000, giving him a gross profit of $50,000. Now you have a similar result from similar activity and a much more realistic picture of Wilson's financial situation. Thus, we have the concept of cost of goods sold, which should be calculated before deducting from income any general, selling, or administrative expenses. Cost of goods sold for a merchandising business is calculated this way. You start with the cost of any inventory you have on hand at the beginning of the year. Next, you add the cost of all the merchandise you purchased. And finally, you subtract the cost of all the merchandise you have on hand as of the end of the year, which then becomes the beginning inventory for the next year. For our manufacturing business, the calculation is a little more complicated. You start with the cost of any raw materials plus finished products as of the beginning of the year. Next, you add the cost of all the raw materials you purchased during the year. Then add all the other costs involved in manufacturing, such as labor, supplies, and the cost of manufacturing facilities and equipment. Finally, you subtract the cost of all the raw materials plus finished products as of the end of the year. Since computing cost of goods sold for a manufacturing business is a complex matter, for now we'll stick with merchandising businesses. But merchandising businesses that add value to the products they purchase before they sell them can also have manufacturing costs. In a previous video, I gave the example of a bicycle shop. The cost of labor to assemble the bicycles is part of cost of goods sold, and all other wages are selling or administrative expenses. So now I try to answer a fundamental question. What is cost? The answer is easy if the cost of the items purchased is the same throughout the year. But when was the last time that happened? Let's enter the world of inventory cost valuation methods, which are, and this is not an exhaustive list, specific identification, FIFO, or first in, first out, LIFO, or last in, first out, and weighted average. Specific identification is used for inventories of large, easily distinguished items. An automobile dealership would use this method, adding the cost of each vehicle as it is purchased and subtracting the cost of each vehicle as it is sold. But even an automobile dealership which uses specific identification would use another method for their repair parts inventory. For the next three methods, we're going back to Wilson and his widgets. The inflation of 2026 has not been kind to Wilson. He started with an inventory of 25 widgets at a cost of $40. He purchased 300 widgets at a cost of $45 in January, 250 widgets in November for $60 each, and finally 50 widgets in December at $65. He had 125 widgets on hand on the last day of the year. What is the cost of Wilson's year-end inventory? Let's start with FIFO, or first in, first out. FIFO assumes the beginning inventory plus the first items purchased are the first ones sold. Using FIFO, we work backwards from the end of the year. Of the 125 widgets, we value 50 at $65 plus 75 at $60, resulting in an end-of-year inventory valuation of $7,750. Next, let's use LIFO, or last in, first out. LIFO assumes the last items purchased are the first ones sold. Now, I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but many businesses use it because it produces the lowest inventory valuation. This results in a higher cost of goods sold, a lower gross income, and ultimately a lower taxable income. With LIFO, you work from the beginning of the year. Of the 125 widgets, we value 25 at $40 and 100 widgets at $45, resulting in an end-of-year inventory valuation of $5,500. Finally, let's calculate the inventory using the weighted average method. The total cost of the widgets in the beginning inventory, plus the cost of all the widgets he purchased, was $32,750. Divided by the total number of widgets in inventory and purchased, 625, gives us a weighted average of $52.40 per widget. This is then multiplied by the 125 remaining widgets to give an end-of-year inventory valuation of $6,650. We now have three different figures for the same inventory. Which one do we choose? As I stated before, when prices are rising, LIFO results in the lowest inventory valuation, a higher cost of goods sold, the lowest gross profit, and ultimately the lowest taxable income. If prices were falling, the situation would be reversed, with FIFO minimizing gross profit and thus taxable income. So all that being said, how and where is cost of goods sold reported on a tax return? Cost of goods sold is calculated in Part 3 of a Schedule C and on Form 1125A for partnership and corporation tax returns. Once calculated, cost of goods sold is reported on Line 4 of Schedule C and Line 2 of Forms 1065, 1120S, and 1120. Small businesses, defined as having less than $31 million in sales per year over the last 3 years, can opt out of computing cost of goods sold for tax purposes. These businesses can simply deduct the total amount of purchases made during the year, reporting them as incidental materials and supplies. If you have any additional questions on cost of goods sold, there are links to additional resources and information in the video description. Your questions, comments, and suggestions are always welcome in the comment space below. If you found this video informative, please give the video a like and subscribe to see more content like this. Please share this video with anyone who could find it useful. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon with more of Your Taxes Oversimplified.